You're listening to The Stephen Torriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Torriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. First of all, new poll released by Echelon Insights. Trump maintains lead over Harris in head-to-head matchup. This is good news. What I find most interesting is even with all the propaganda, all the gaslighting coming from the legacy media, CNN, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, you know who they are. We all know who they are. This is the first time in my lifetime that I can actually tell that the media is completely one-sided, trying to get one candidate across the finish line. I've never seen it before in my life, ever. Not at this level. We're talking about full-blown bodyguard for Kamala Harris when it comes to her campaign. And it's obvious. It's because they're trying to get her across the finish line. Kamala Harris hasn't done a press briefing or anything in 37 days. She hasn't done one press briefing, and she is the presidential nominee that was just coronated. I mean, this is nuts, folks. We have never seen this level of Soviet Union-style elections. This is the type of stuff that happens in Venezuela. Voting for this type of stuff only legitimizes what the Democrats are doing to our elections. That's it. Point, period, and blank. If you vote for this, then you will get this type of election process every single election. So I actually wanted to get in this poll a little bit. This is from Breitbart. This just dropped a few minutes ago. So former President Trump leads Vice President Kamala Harris by 1 point in a head-to-head matchup. The Echelon Insights survey found Monday, underscoring Trump's ability to overcome his opponent's honeymoon phase since she joined the race last month. Yeah, so here it is. You have Kamala Harris getting all of this media hype. I mean, literally, Soviet-style media coverage like we have never seen in this country before. And Trump is still leading by 1 point. That is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. So the Echelon Insights found on August 26th, today, that Trump is 49% and Harris is 48%. In a full field, Trump and Harris are tied, so which means with Jill Stein, Oliver, and Cornel West, which, by the way, West is ordered to be on the ballot in Michigan. Both Stein and West are ordered to be on the ballot in Georgia. So these are big deals because the last thing Democrats want is having these two other candidates siphoning votes from Kamala Harris. And so don't be surprised if you see some lawfare against Cornel West and Jill Stein, because they will absolutely, there is no shame in their game. They will take their own down to prevent Donald Trump from getting elected. So the poll sampled 1,031 blah, 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 okay, with a 3.6% margin of error. So the three top issues facing voters were, first, cost of living, 25%, second, immigration at 14%, and third, jobs in the economy at 12%, according to the poll. Well, Kamala Harris fails all three of those. So now you see why she needs the media. Now you see why we have this epic level of Soviet-style gaslighting that we're getting from our media. This full spectrum coverage of Kamala Harris to turn her into something she's just not. It's false. I mean, we've never seen just straight up lies like this, man. I mean, it's so bizarre. And I got a video from Bernie Sanders. I got a video where he was doing an interview talking about the border wall and how the Kamala campaign is advertising immigration policies with Trump's border wall.
When Harris ran for the Democratic nomination against you and others in 2020, she said she favored decriminalizing illegal border crossing. She even suggested she would be in favor of abolishing ICE. Now, of course, she's taking at least rhetorically, a much tougher line on border security. Take a look at this, one of her very first ads as the presidential nominee.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
What do you make of her transformation on this issue?
Well, I don't think it's a question of transformation. We have a crisis at the border, and we've got to make sure that fentanyl does not get into this country. We have to crack down on illegal immigration. But what we need is comprehensive immigration reform. I mean, you got God knows how many young people in this country as a result of DACA who deserve to gain citizenship. We need skilled workers, and we need workers in this country. A lot of labor shortages all over America where immigrants can play an important role. So keeping people from illegally entering the country obviously is the right thing to do. But we need comprehensive immigration reform, and I suspect that is what the vice president supports.
But if you take a look at that ad, one thing that I found striking is if you look, and I think we have the images here, there are at least 3 points in that ad that show the border wall, Donald Trump's border wall. Is it now the position of the Democrats that they favor the border wall?
Well, you can ask the Harris campaign about that ad. That's the first that I've seen it. Bottom line is I think there's wide recognition in this country, and we've had some success. I think the number of illegal immigrants coming in recently has gone down substantially. That is a major issue, and we've got to continue to do that.
I mean, did the Kamala campaign go full MAGA and we just didn't know it? No, obviously she's lying. They're lying trying to get low information voters. That is their entire tactic, is to delay and to prevent the American people from seeing who Kamala Harris really is. Because once people find out, and I said this weeks ago, once people find out who she really is and the policies she supports and the policies, her record, her track record, all that, they will not want to vote for her. So the name of the game is to stall, to delay, to hide, to manipulate, to gaslight, to lie, and play the Joe Biden in the basement strategy while the media builds this brand new Kamala Harris. That is what we're watching. We've never seen this before in the country. We have openly Marxist candidates running for president, for the White House in this country. And then 37 days, mind you, this is after a primary where they got no votes in the primary election, which also has never happened before. And no votes, and this was just 3 months before the election, gets coronated, hasn't done a press briefing, hasn't answered the questions from the people, no questions from anybody, no press briefing for 37 days, a month and a half after being coronated. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, this is insane. I can't say it enough because I can't really think of any other word that would describe what we're watching. I mean, you have insane, you have diabolical, you have deceitful. I mean, you could just go down the list. I mean, I could think of a ton of names, but I mean, insane just sounds like the most fitting. But you have all of this, and Donald Trump is still leading in the national polls. I don't know, folks. Listen, I am not a huge guy on polls, but I know for a fact they always underscore on Donald Trump's polls. Always. You have RFK Jr. out. Now, I am interested in the polls that come out next week, but here's the thing. You have mail-in ballots. You have ballots going out in 11 days. 11 days, ballots are going to start going out to people. This is like the, what's his name from Pennsylvania? You know, the big oath, the giant mongoloid in Pennsylvania? I forget, John Fetterman. They did the same thing. They did not give him a debate. They did not interview him until half of the people already voted. They're doing the same dirty stuff here. And I find it so amazing how Democrats are perfectly fine with this. Frankly, I don't think regular Americans are. I don't think the regular low information, non-political voter is falling for this garbage. I really don't. I think they see Kamala Harris as the vice president. I think they see Kamala Harris as complicit in all of this because she is second in command. I think they see Kamala Harris as they've always seen her, as dumb, as ignorant, and not that bright, incompetent, unaccomplished. I mean, there's nothing there. Kamala Harris has not accomplished anything. She hasn't done anything. She has not contributed anything. How did she even get these jobs? Was she a master in law? No, because she failed her first bar exam. So I'm just confused as to why we are elevating possibly one of the most unaccomplished, ineffective, undeserving people to the highest level in our government. The leader of the free world, the President of the United States. Why are Americans doing this to themselves? Why are we engaging in this self-destruction, this like self-suicide? I just don't think we are. And the polls are showing it. Even after the nonstop propaganda, gaslighting from the media, even after this Orwellian DNC that we just watched for the last week, I couldn't watch it, man. It was so infuriating. The amount of lies at the DNC was breathtaking. I mean, the sheer gaslighting. Folks, I have an article here where I was reading that the Kamala campaign is handing out note cards, these little pamphlets, these trifold pamphlets to people in the White House and all through Capitol Hill of talking points for Kamala when they come into the press. I've never seen that before. I've never seen where a campaign was handing out pamphlets to the entire Republican Party on Capitol Hill for talking points for Donald Trump. Why would they do that? People cannot talk about Kamala in a positive way without a list of lies. This is, like I said, this is bizarre. And even with all of that, Donald Trump is still leading. I'm just confused as to the self-destruct mode that America is engaging in. We're really going to elect a known Marxist, a socialist, into the White House? I just don't believe it. A lot of people, I know the Democrats, you know, like Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, you go down the list, Obama. I know they think their constituents are dumb. You know, the ones that are going to vote blue no matter who. But I find it very hard to believe that regular Americans are buying this BS, man. I find it very difficult to believe that even with the low information voter, that they have not really seen who Kamala really is. I think they have the entire time, and I just don't think they're buying it. You mean to tell me when Kamala Harris comes out on stage and says, we're going to be strong on immigration, we're going to reduce illegal immigration after she was complicit, she was the partner in crime for the 3.5 years the border was wide freaking open. Record numbers of illegal immigrants. And they didn't even discuss it. In fact, for 3 years, they were telling us it wasn't a crisis. I mean, and now you're going to come out and say, oh, I'm going to fix the crisis I started? But you just said there wasn't a crisis for 3.5 years, and the media swore to it. And now all of a sudden you're going to be strong on immigration? I mean, I am not one to give campaign points to, you know, I'm not a campaigner. I don't like campaigning for anybody. I am simply here to give my fellow Americans the truth about what we're seeing. So to get back into this article, so the issues are significant because under the Biden-Harris administration, inflation soared about 20% across the board and millions of people invaded the southern border, while illegal migrants were accused of committing heinous crimes. The administration's record on the most important issues is a topic the Harris campaign tries to avoid by simultaneously taking credit for some of the administration's record while casting Trump as the incumbent. This is bizarre too. They're almost trying to, and I'm telling you, I have people I know, they are consumed with TDS. They actually think Donald Trump is president right now. This is so bizarre to me. As if Biden and Harris are not even in the office right now. And Breitbart sees the same thing. It is very bizarre. I mean, they're almost like, well, yeah, this is all Donald Trump's fault. It's like, what? Donald Trump was 5 years ago, dude. I mean, no. No, this is Kamala Harris and the Biden administration's fault. Kamala Harris is vice president. I just want everybody to know that that's watching this. Kamala Harris is vice president and Joe Biden is the president. Even though we haven't seen him, we don't even know where he's at, which is extremely dangerous, by the way. I mean, certainly if the framers were here, if you go back and you read the Federalist Papers about how Alexander Hamilton felt about there being one person as the lead executive officer, the president, then you would know that what these people are doing is unfounded in our framing documents. It's never been heard of. To have a president that's completely non-existent and then a vice president that's campaigning as if she's not vice president. This is bizarre. The most, like I said, the most unbelievable gaslighting I've ever seen in my entire life. In my entire life. Absolutely insane. So the contradiction stems from the media's failure to widely ignore a catch-22 rooted within Harris's candidacy. Harris cannot campaign on policies to fix crime, inflation, and border security without undermining the Biden-Harris administration's claim of solving those key issues. However, Harris must tout the administration's policy successes to validate her record and candidacy. This is where this weird, bizarre, epic-level gaslighting is getting us. I think people are just like in this state of mass confusion. It's like, wait a minute, so she has no record to run on because during her administration, the economy is a disaster. We have foreign conflicts all over the world. The border's at the record worst with 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants into the country. Inflation is record high. Prices in groceries record high. So they've completely destroyed everything they touched, essentially. So she can't come out and talk about it, but at the same time, she says she's going to fix it, but she's vice president now. So why don't she fix it now? Just telling you, man, this stuff is bizarre. It's the only word I can think of. So Breitbart's right on point. Donald Trump holds a 1-point lead over Harris in national polls. And I got to be honest, the hubris in the Democrat Party is off the charts. I mean, they honestly think that Kamala Harris has this in the bag and there's no way Donald Trump can win. And I got to say, I feel pretty good about this. I feel good about this because it reminds me of 2016, where everybody said Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. There was no way Donald Trump was going to win. You see the video clips. We see it repeat all the time, at least once every month, where this clip of all the media talking heads and Coulter coming out and saying, in reality, Donald Trump. And they all started laughing at her. And then here we are. Donald Trump wins. It was the most epic turn of events, the most epic time in this country, in my lifetime, that I've ever seen. Donald Trump winning the 2016 election. I remember that night like it was yesterday. We had the results that night. The next day, Democrats were in shock. There were tears. There were crying. And it was all because of their hubris. And they have the same hubris now. And so I got to tell you, I feel pretty good. I really do. I would rather be in this position where we have Donald Trump fighting it out on the battlefield. Because I'll tell you one thing right now. There has never been a closer like Donald Trump, ever. When it comes to politics and it comes to campaigning, Donald Trump is the close hitter. He is the freaking Babe Ruth of campaigning when it comes to clutch plays. He is the most clutch campaigner that we've ever seen. And so I feel pretty good him being where he's at. It does not, these polls don't worry me. I don't care about them because polls suck. But I got to tell you, I feel pretty good about this because maybe I just have too much confidence in my fellow citizens. I know there's millions of Trump deranged leftists, but frankly, I got to be honest, I don't know what else they can say about Donald Trump they already haven't said, and it hasn't been proven wrong. This is the problem with vilifying Donald Trump as much as they have. It's like they have desensitized people to vilifying Donald Trump. It's like, I mean, when they started with the Donald Trump was peeing on hookers in the Russian hookers story, the Russia collusion hoax and the hotel, all that stuff. Like, that was pretty insane. And then, you call him Hitler, you call him Mussolini. I mean, what else can you call the guy? I think regular people see exactly what RFK Jr. and the rest of us see. I think they see a media that is out of control, that are completely in the bag for the Democrat Party. I think they see the media as a government apparatus, a arm of the administrative state, propaganda, almost like Pravda, like the Soviet-style propaganda back in the 1930s. I just don't think people are buying it. What do the Democrats have? Nothing. This is why they have to hide Kamala and keep her away from the press and keep her away from questions. And because voting starts here in a few weeks. In a month, you have ballots going out. And so they're trying to hold this thing out for another 30 days.